I've been wanting to talk about this rumored Donkey Kong project for the longest time. Initially, the rumor was that Nintendo wanted to bring Donkey Kong back to prominence, make it popular again. And while we did not get clarity whether it would be 2D or 3D, we did see multiple reports suggesting that it was in development, and by Nintendo EPD Tokyo, possibly the Mario Odyssey team, and that was the initial rumor. And I myself personally knew someone at Nintendo that saw this, and they confirmed it to me, so I personally have believed this Donkey Kong rumor for a long time. And I've been wanting to talk about it, I've talked about it in the past, but recently we haven't really had much reason to because there were no updates. Until now. It looks like at one point this Donkey Kong project was an open world 3D platforming Donkey Kong game. So how legitimate is this? How likely is this? What's going on? Well, that's what we're talking about today.
Hey, listen!
Welcome everyone, this is AndresRestart, and yes, today we are talking about potentially an open world 3D platforming Donkey Kong game. I am very excited about the possibility of this, and that's something I want to emphasize first before we go any further. Possibility. I don't know if this is going to come to market. There could be a possibility that this idea we're talking about was canned, changed, maybe there's some conflation, maybe there's some misleading info. Take it with a grain of salt. That said, I will be posting some information that is public in the description below. I was initially tipped off to this story from Nintendo Prime. I will also link his video in the description below, but I have seen some things that do support this concept, this idea, and I think there is legitimacy here. Now, before we get into the actual rumor, let me point out we have this goal to hit 25,000 subscribers by the time Tears of the Kingdom releases on May 12th. It may seem like a lofty goal, we've made some headway, but we still have a long way to go. However, if you enjoy my content and you subscribe and hit that notification bell, we just might make it. Alright, so let me give you an overall summary of the different pieces of information that are both public and private here that I can talk about. So, apparently, this initial Donkey Kong project was actually in development from late 2015 to 2017 at Vicarious Visions, the studio responsible for Skylanders and the Crash Insane trilogy. They were working on this, and it was codenamed Donkey Kong Freedom. And the idea was, yes, for it to be an open world 3D platforming Donkey Kong game. Now here's an interesting little tidbit. Miyamoto was involved with this project throughout. He was giving different ideas and concepts and all of that, and he was in love with this project and what they were doing with it. At one point, he saw that Donkey Kong would be grinding through tree trunks and vines, kind of like Sonic or maybe like Tarzan, but he was concerned that Donkey Kong would be hurting his feet, getting bruised up and such by grinding against the tree trunks. So Vicarious Visions came up with a solution, wearing banana peels. And Miyamoto loved this. He was so excited about the idea, the concept, the overall project. And the original damsel in distress from the original Donkey Kong, Pauline, who was also in Mario Odyssey, might have been involved in some way. However, apparently, in 2018, after the release for Mario Odyssey, they moved on from Vicarious Visions to EPD Tokyo, an internal Nintendo team. Now, some of the initial rumors were suggesting that maybe this project was being made by the Mario Odyssey team. But now what we're hearing is that it looks like some of the Mario Odyssey team may have went on to work on this project that were excited about Donkey Kong, some of the younger developers. But the core Mario Odyssey team, that 3D Mario team, is still working on 3D Mario. Now something else, apparently how the game kind of looked. Imagine a thick, fully interactive jungle. Maybe kind of like the jungle we see in the opening for Kirby's Forgotten Land, except instead of there being a single pathway that paves through the jungle, you can move about freely throughout the entire jungle. So imagine Donkey Kong swinging vine to vine, grinding through different tree trunks and thicker vines, moving about with his heft in a seamless way. This would be a new, unique style of platformer, and it would be amazing, I would think. Something that was touched on during the Nintendo Prime podcast last night. I believe Jake Randall pointed this out. Vicarious Visions has a history with working on Spider-Man as well, and if you've played any Spider-Man games, Spider-Man swings from building to building with his webs. So considering the history of Donkey Kong swinging from vine to vine, it's fairly easy to envision how employing some of the techniques you might see in a Spider-Man game could work in an open world 3D platforming Donkey Kong game alongside grinding through tree branches kind of like Sonic or Tarzan. Now, while this all sounds amazing, we gotta keep in mind that this story is about a project that Vicarious Visions worked on. This is the kind of thing that maybe we might see from DigiKnow Gaming down the road, where they say, hey look, there's this canceled project that was really cool, but it won't come to market. We don't necessarily know what Nintendo EPD is working on. Maybe they're still working on Donkey Kong, maybe they're not, maybe they changed the concepts and ideas, maybe it's no longer an open world 3D Donkey Kong game, which might be disappointing, but also considering how talented internal Nintendo teams are, considering that some Mario Odyssey team members may have joined onto this project, and that Mario Odyssey is the second highest rated game on Switch at 97 on Metacritic, arguably, well actually maybe not even arguably, pretty much indisputably the best 3D platformer in decades, I still feel like there's a pretty good chance that some of these ideas will translate over, and they might even improve upon them. And I do think we've seen a lot of information publicly that supports this idea of this Donkey Kong project. So let's point out that the first expansion to Super Nintendo World is a Donkey Kong expansion, not Animal Crossing, not Pokemon, not Zelda, Donkey Kong. I find that decision to be peculiar. However, if they're trying to modernize Donkey Kong, bring it back to prominence, as the rumor has suggested, this all makes a lot of sense. Donkey Kong has a huge influence in the Mario movie from what we've seen. That also adds up as well. We've also seen this Donkey Kong Lego set. It feels like Nintendo's building up to something here. This feels actually pretty similar to how they built up to the announcement for Pikmin 4. They had Pikmin 3 Deluxe, they had the Pikmin figurines in the Super Nintendo World Park, and they had the Pikmin mobile game, leading up to the announcement for Pikmin 4. And in the second Mario movie Direct, Miyamoto felt compelled to have a segment talking about the new design for Donkey Kong, and he seemed pretty excited about it. They didn't do this for Luigi, they didn't do this for Peach, they didn't do this for Bowser or Mario or Toad, but for Donkey Kong. This excitement that Miyamoto seems to have for him kind of matches to the story we talked about today. All the puzzle pieces are fitting here. Now, there's some speculation that maybe this project is being saved for Nintendo Switch 2, maybe next year, at the end of this year, we're not sure. That is speculation, we don't know. I will say that I personally find it hard to believe that we'll see this massive new Donkey Kong game come out alongside of a 3D Mario around the same time. I feel that there has to be some level of separation here. Now, if this Donkey Kong project ends up being a 2D project and there's a 3D Mario, I can see them coming out within a couple months of each other. Or vice versa. If there's a 2D Mario and a 3D Donkey Kong, I could see them coming out within a couple months of each other. But if they're both these big, epic 3D projects that might even be open world, I don't see them coming out October, November, or September, November. I think they would have to be divided by at least half a year. That's my personal take. So while I'm extremely excited for the eventual 3D Mario for Metroid Prime 4, and now apparently this open world 3D Donkey Kong game, I don't expect all of them to come out around the same time. They're gonna be spaced out, I believe. That said, it looks like big epic games to come after Tears of the Kingdom are not in short supply for Nintendo. And that just has me very excited. Still gotta take it with a grain of salt because we don't know what the project will actually become or if it'll actually come to market, but I feel like it's a safe bet something Donkey Kong is on the way. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, everyone, this is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.